The Boeing 777, often called the 777, is one of the safest and most reliable wide-body aircraft in the skies. But even with its advanced systems and powerful engines, landings can sometimes go very wrong. Imagine this. The aircraft is lined up with the runway, the passengers are silent, the landing gear is fully extended, and everything seems under control. Then, as the giant machine touches down, something unexpected happens. A hard bounce, a sudden swerve, or a violent roll that makes even the most experienced pilot grip the controls with full focus. These moments are not only terrifying for those on board, but they also reveal how unpredictable aviation can be. Unlike cruise flight, where autopilot handles most of the job, landings are almost always performed manually. That's where skill, experience, and sometimes pure instinct come into play. On approach, the pilots are fighting physics. Crosswinds, pushing against the tail, shifting air currents, trying to tilt the wings, rain or snow, making the runway slippery, and the sheer weight of the aircraft demanding a perfect touch. With the Boeing 777, the challenge is magnified by its size. This aircraft can weigh over 300 tons during landing, meaning that even the smallest error can lead to dramatic consequences. When a wing dips too low, when the wheels hit the ground unevenly, or when thrust is reduced just a moment too early, the result can be a landing that looks and feels terrifying. On video, these moments appear shocking. Sparks flying from the undercarriage, wings flexing under stress, and the nose lurching as the pilots fight to regain control. But behind every dramatic landing, there's usually a story. Sometimes weather, sometimes mechanical factors, and sometimes human error. In this video, we'll break down some of the most famous Boeing 777 landings that went wrong. We'll explore why they happened, how pilots responded, and what lessons aviation experts learned from these incidents. Because while the Boeing 777 is one of the safest aircraft ever built, no landing is ever guaranteed to be smooth. And when things go wrong, it's a reminder of just how much skill is required to bring a giant like this safely back to Earth. When viewers watch dramatic Boeing 777 landings online, the first question is always the same. What exactly went wrong? To answer that, we need to look closely at the combination of weather, aircraft design, and human decision-making. The most common factor is crosswind. Runways are not always aligned with the direction of the wind, and when a strong gust hits the massive fuselage of a Boeing 777, it pushes the aircraft sideways. Pilots often use a technique called crabbing, pointing the nose into the wind to maintain alignment with the runway. But if the wind suddenly shifts just before touchdown, the result can be a hard bounce, one wheel striking before the other, or even the aircraft skidding off centerline. Another factor is runway conditions. Wet or icy runways drastically reduce friction between the tires and the surface. For an aircraft weighing hundreds of tons, even a slight lack of grip can turn a smooth landing into a dangerous slide. Pilots prepare for this by adjusting speed and flare technique, but sometimes the environment changes faster than they can react. Mechanical systems also play a role. While rare, issues with landing gear, spoilers, or thrust reversers can transform a routine landing into a near disaster. For example, if the spoilers, the panels on top of the wings that help slow the aircraft, fail to deploy correctly, the jet may not settle firmly onto the runway, leaving the pilots to fight for control as the aircraft continues to float. And then there is the human element. Pilots are highly trained, but fatigue, stress, or even momentary misjudgment can influence the landing. On the Boeing 777, managing the descent rate and flare angle is particularly critical. Too much flare, and the aircraft can balloon upward before slamming down hard. Too little, and the jet may strike the ground nose first, creating a jarring and unsafe touchdown. In many cases, it's not just one factor, but a chain of events. A sudden gust of wind, a slightly high approach speed, and a wet runway combined can produce a frightening result. This is why aviation experts often describe landing as the most dynamic and unpredictable phase of flight. Every time a 777 struggles during touchdown, it reminds us that even the most advanced aircraft in the world cannot defy the raw power of nature and the limits of human reaction. One of the most famous incidents occurred at London Heathrow Airport, where crosswinds often challenge large aircraft. Videos of 777s landing at Heathrow show just how violent the wind can be. In one case, the aircraft approached at an angle, wings rocking heavily, before touching down with such force that the entire fuselage shuddered. Spectators on the ground captured the moment, and it quickly went viral online, sparking debates among aviation enthusiasts about whether the pilots should have attempted a go-around instead. Another dramatic example happened in Frankfurt, Germany, during a stormy afternoon. A Boeing 777 on final approach was caught in a powerful gust just seconds before touchdown. The aircraft slammed onto the runway with one main gear first, bounced violently, and then settled after what seemed like an eternity. While the passengers walked away safely, the landing became a textbook example of how quickly conditions can deteriorate and how pilots must adapt in a split second. Even airports in Asia, such as Hong Kong's old Kai Tak Airport and today's Czech Lapkok, have tested the skills of 777 pilots. Strong monsoon winds and narrow approaches often force the 777 into hard, side-loaded landings that stress both the landing gear and the nerves of everyone on board. These moments have been studied repeatedly in pilot training simulators, reminding crews of the importance of precision and readiness to abort the landing if necessary. Of course, not every rough landing is weather-related. In some cases, miscalculated approach speeds or flare angles have caused the 777 to touch down harder than intended. Aviation forums are full of stories from passengers recalling the hardest landing of their lives, often described as feeling like hitting concrete at full speed. The good news is that the Boeing 777 is built for these stresses. Its robust landing gear and reinforced fuselage are designed to withstand extreme forces. But the dramatic images of wings flexing and sparks flying during touchdown remind us that landings are never routine. Each of these events not only captivates the public, but also provides valuable lessons for aviation safety. They prove that even one of the world's most trusted airliners can still deliver a heart-stopping arrival.
When a Boeing 777 struggles during landing, it's easy for viewers to imagine the worst. But what separates aviation from chaos is the incredible training and discipline of the pilots. These crews spend thousands of hours practicing not only perfect landings, but also imperfect ones, the scenarios where things go wrong. One of the most critical tools in a pilot's arsenal is the go-around. If the approach is unstable, meaning the aircraft is too fast, too high, or being pushed off the centerline by strong winds, pilots are trained to abandon the landing altogether. They apply full thrust, retract the flaps step by step, and climb away to circle around for another attempt. To the untrained eye, a go-around may seem like a failure, but in reality, it is one of the safest decisions a crew can make. It shows discipline and prioritizes safety over pride. When a touchdown is rough, pilots also rely on the Boeing 777's advanced systems to regain control. The fly-by-wire technology assists in stabilizing the aircraft, while the auto-throttle helps manage power precisely during recovery. Spoilers and thrust reversers deploy to slow the aircraft as quickly and evenly as possible. Even if the landing is bumpy, these features ensure the jet remains controllable. In some dramatic cases, you'll see the pilots physically wrestling the control yoke, countering crosswind gusts with constant adjustments. The Boeing 777's large wings can act like sails in strong winds, and pilots need to be proactive, applying rudder to keep the nose straight while balancing ailerons to prevent a dangerous wing strike. This ballet of inputs is what transforms a potentially disastrous landing into a safe, if not smooth, arrival. It's also worth noting that many of these landings are later analyzed in simulator sessions. Pilots review what went wrong, what worked, and how they can improve. Aviation thrives on learning from every close call. Each rough 777 landing adds to a global body of knowledge that makes future flights even safer. And while watching these landings can be heart-pounding, they are also a reminder of the skill and professionalism behind every flight. Next time you see a 777 fighting the elements on approach, remember, there are 2 pilots up front working tirelessly to keep everyone safe. If you're enjoying this breakdown of dramatic Boeing 777 landings, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps this channel keep bringing you aviation stories that matter.